Welcome to Kerusi Panas, and you're here with Bridget Welsh. This is episode 7. This is a mid-campaign update, focusing on the things that I think are useful to understand what's happening in Sabah politics. The main contenders still remain split among themselves. It looks very clear that no one party and coalitions will win a majority, at least at this particular juncture. The main contenders remain GRS, Warasan, BN, STAR, UPKO, KDM. These are the main parties that I think are important to watch, as well as Pakatan Harapan. The seats remain highly competitive. In my analysis, 64% of the seats, that means 47 out of 73, are very close. In seats like this one, Melalap and Tenom, I've coined a new phrase, too uncertain to call. It's not close because it's not one versus others, it's multiple versus multiple. And that makes a lot of complexity. It also makes for a very interesting dynamic to watch. We've seen the Calon factor be predominant in the first week of the campaign. 579 Calons have participated in contests that are very large. They run from 4 candidates to as many as 14. What we can see is that on the ground, voters have begun to sift through them. Each race starts to emerge as leading contenders. It's been a process of sifting and boiling down to who are the main people that people are interested in. Calon has been pitted against sentiment, and that has largely been about local parties, as well as Sabah rights, Sabah needs, that feed into the sense of wanting to have stronger state governance. Also, there is a sentiment of loyalties to different parties that is a secondary level here in this process. The third thing that's been shaping the campaign has been machinery. Behind that is money. And I think this is going to be a factor that's going to be very important in the second week of this campaign. We've seen a series of very different narratives. Selamatkan Sabah by Warasan, pushing the issue of protecting Sabah, and we'll see similar themes in many other campaigns. GRS's campaign has been Rumah Kita, Kita Jaga, also trying to put itself within the local party framework, trying to emphasize that it is the government. The fact is that there's no guarantee that they'll be the government next time, but they're still building on their incumbency. UPKO has adopted the Sabah First narrative, and they've engaged in a tour across the 25 seats that they're contesting. Parasa National's overall narrative is a bit more fragmented. There still is that persistent theme of Rada Tetap Rada, or to keep on fighting, keep up the struggle. That has been something that has gone down to the ground among many of their traditional party voters. Anwar Ibrahim has been the defining feature of Pakatan Harapan's campaign, and many of the posters are Saya, 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 I love you, I paid for you, I give you this money, I've managed to help you on MA63. Almost all the pictures feature him. This is striking parallel to when Muhyiddin Yassin did this in 2020 election. They've made the election into a mandate. I've written this is a higher risk for Anwar Ibrahim, but I think this is the campaign that they've chosen to emphasize the control of resources, the control of the center and the power as part of their Pakatan Harapan message. On the ground, the campaign has had 3 different levels. There's first been the public local discussions. And here we've seen the narrative of Warasan, the strong narrative of local party, pushing stronger representation. Warasan has perhaps been given the most profile in their messaging. They have very strong social media that supports that. Publicly, we've also seen the spat over the issue of 40%. This is much more than a spat. It's actually quite meaningful. The first issue has been whether or not you're paying the 40%, that famous video in Gaya Street, which has been defining the campaign, as well as the call out of the appeal process for the 40%. Government has said that they would not appeal the 40%, but in fact, they appealed most of the substantive issues from the decision, which implicitly would also put that other issue at risk. What that means is that appeal has been appealed over the 40% decision, but it's been framed in very different ways. And that has provoked the split of the party within Pakatan Harapan, the resignation of Iwan Benedict, the Sabah First movement, and questions that have been asked about the genuineness of the support for Sabah among voters about the Anwar government. This has been complemented by a statement by DAP, by Anthony Locke, rebuking Iwan Benedict, which has also gone down not well among Sabah voters who see this as inappropriate, an illustration of the imbalance in the federal-state relationship and the imbalance about how federal government treats Sabahans. These local dynamics, the federal-state relationship, as well as breaking up of Pakatan Harapan, at least one of the component parties, has also been a very defining feature of the first week of the campaign. These things are at the public level. Among voters, and speaking to thousands of them in the course of these weeks, what we are seeing now as I move from the East Coast back to the West Coast through the North, a sifting through the number of candidates. So I've talked in my writing about splitting and swarming as being a phenomenon that has impacted this large number of candidates. But now what we see is a sifting process. So most of the seats that I go to in the constituencies, they speak about how they've been able to narrow it down to 1 or 2, 3 individuals. Many of them are still not yet decided. And that's another feature that we're seeing 1 week into the campaign, a large number of fence sitters, which means that the campaign in the next week could be very volatile. It will also give the advantage to machinery. We've also seen a situation where parties and individuals have been able to show their power. And this has been measured by the amount of flags and the type of campaign machinery. In some cases, this is either blowback. Some people have asked, where did that party get their money from? But it's also given an advantage to those who have resources, allow people to assess how they have been seeing these parties from a particular perspective from the past. The level of choice has contributed to an engagement. At the same time, it's led to a confusion and a lack of clarity. Many voters are still not certain who they would vote for. There's been a lot of reflection and discussions going on, and you can hear these in the Kerusi or the local stores or in the restaurants all across Sabah, especially who the conversations focus on, the candidate. Also, there has been discussions and increasing discussions about parties as this campaign started to take more narrative, more clarity in differentiating the different parties from each other. Voters have begun engaging. What I've also found is that many voters cannot return home because of costs or because of road conditions. There's just so much time involved to be able to go back. There's been complaints that there's not enough flights within Sabah, and questions of connectivity. These are things that have come to the fore. Then the third level of this discussion is the ground campaign. And the ground campaign has a whole series of things that are going on. One is that there has been discussions about use of targeting and engaging voters, the determining who are loyalists or the white voters, white versus those that are opponents, and gray areas. There's been the mobilization of machinery. And that ground campaign involves across the space where people have now moved from getting to know you to trying to really pull support. And this next week, we're going to see money become very important. Behind the scenes, there's a lot of conversations that are starting, given the realities that the majority is unlikely to be won by one party. The conversations have begun. Discussions about what matters to different communities and the stakes in the polls, as well as about what might be a relationship in the post-government circumstances. It has been very fascinating to watch. There's a lot going on. There's a lot likely to shape in the next week ahead. Sabah politics remains highly competitive and very interesting. Thank you for following me here on Kerusi Panas Sabah. We'll continue with a few more regions in the course of this week before voting day.